the Spirit Sessions podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Silcox, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us, where I'll help you find your true spiritual home, where every single aspect of you is holy ground, holy ground, holy ground, holy ground.
This is a Spirit Session podcast with Katie Silcox. Venga chicos, empezamos.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hi everyone, Katie here. This podcast is intended to inspire you, educate you, and most importantly, support you on your journey towards knowing who you really are, that inner self, that inner teacher. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer professional health or medical advice on this podcast. If you are suffering from any kind of psychological or medical issue, please do the right thing and seek help from your qualified health professional. Hi everyone, it is your Ayurveda Gal Friday here, Katie, with a really special episode always for you. Everyone's familiar with the fact that we have the world's most beloved lady-centered, woman-centered Ayurveda school, but what you may not know about is our membership program. We have a program called Spirit Sessions. It runs a 2-hour live workshop on Zoom every single month, and when you join, you get immediate access to all of my meditations, videos, and past trainings. It's $28 a month. It's crazy affordable. We give you so much. And this past week, I did a webinar on the art of self-trust. I explore what research, modern scientific academic research, has to say about self-trust. What is it? I was surprised to know that I did not know as much about self-trust, at least from an academic approach, as I thought. And it was so beautiful to be able to kind of cross-compare that with the more tantric or Ayurvedic approach to it and see the way that they really weave into one another so beautifully. So the webinar was 2 hours long. We did a lot of meditation, journaling, contemplation work around it, but I wanted to give you just a little taste of it in this podcast. And if you are like, wow, I want to do the rest of the webinar, you can sign up for $28. You can obviously cancel it at any time. And you can take the rest of that self-trust workshop with me. And then guess what else? Next Spirit Sessions, so this month of August, we're going to be going into the art of self-trust, part 2. How we can work with the shadow side to deepen our own awareness of self-trust. And guess what? Self-trust and self-esteem go hand in hand. So I hope you enjoy this podcast and this little taste of Spirit Sessions, and I hope it inspires you to check it out. All right, everyone, enjoy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spirit Sessions. I am your guide, Katie Silcox, here with you every single month to do one thing, and that is dive deep. Dive deep into the principles, the perennial philosophy of Tantra, which is also almost always, 100% in alignment with the neuroscience and the biophysiology, because Tantra is a study of reality. It's a beautiful, beautiful practice that we're going to be working with today. Something that I think as I age becomes more and more important and real. And it really is the essence of everything that we study at the Shakti school. So every single class in this Spirit Sessions is a variation on a theme. It's like when you learn the piano or any instrument, you A, B, C, D, right? Like you learn how to play the notes and the scales. And the fundamental perennial philosophy of all depth spiritual traditions is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you learn to play the scales. It all comes back to the DNA of the journey that we're on as spiritual beings having an earth walk experience. And so I believe this is just tiny little Katie Silcox soapbox moment. Like if somebody thinks they came up with something new, you might want to be like, question mark. Like we're all here sharing in the lineage, which is what the name of this subscription used to be called, the lineage of love. And it still is, right? We're all here to soak in this river of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like all the notes that all of our ancestors have been holding for us for thousands of years. And that is the game that we're playing down here is, who am I for realsies? And okay, if I can tap into that, I'm not done. That's Shiva. That's consciousness, right? Who am I really? And now what? Like, what do I do? And that's Shakti. Who am I for real? When I let go of all this narrative and all this identity and all this self-validation and other validation, all this roles that I think I'm supposed to be. And my teacher says all the ways that we've made up to feel comfortable in an uncomfortable world, when I can kind of let that soften a little bit and know and tap into like the truth of Silcox is crying a lot this year because my house burned down almost a year ago. And when you have your whole house burned down, and I don't love that that happened to me, but my God, for a fiery gal like me, it was like a perfect for the metaphor that I will use till the day I die to teach, because every woman in this room has had her house burned down in some way, especially in your 30s and 40s. Like the house burns down 30s, 40s, 50s ish. The teachings say fire time of life. I got to be with the great Dr. Ladd, and he was like, oh, house burned down. Very good burning of the karma. So like when my house burned down and the ash was still on my face and all my cool furniture that I just bought was gone and all my things, there was this awareness in me, you all, of the 20 plus years of the teachings of like, none of it mattered. You're still here. You are the thing that rises out of everything in your life being taken from you. And now, what do I do? Now that I'm at least tasted, at least got a glimmer, because we forget daily, what do I do with that? And so this workshop today is a variation on that theme, which is who am I and for real, and then what do I do with that? And this variation is called the art of self-trust. I wanted personally to spend time for a month on that investigation and on that contemplation and that philosophy to really ask myself, like, what does it actually mean to trust myself when it feels like my house is burning? Because when you have a house fire, just in the real world, the house burning down is the least hard part. Making the decision to get a divorce, when you finally make the decision, there's a release. But up until then, that's the hell realm. So when your house finally burns down, there's this period where you're actually in what the teachings call, and for those of you that have had a baby or had a death in your family, there's a period after the house burns down or the baby is born or the loved one takes her last exhale where there's a liminal space. And some of you know that because you've had a baby or you've lost your parent or you have been told by someone you love that they don't love you anymore. This liminal space, it feels really, it can feel really wonderful, but it can also feel really terrifying. And in the teachings, they call this liminal space Sutika. And so it's the aftermath of the birth or the death. And so whether it's been a birth or a death, there's this liminal space where the teachings say the veils that have been blocking the truth of reality are now taken away. And so I wanted to kind of bring in this idea of self-trust as we all kind of work through the aftermath of birth and death. And oh, there's a third realm some of you are in right now. Lucky girl. So if you're not currently in the birthing and you're not currently in the deathing, you're in the middle. And guess what? Some of you really like the middle, and the middle is sustained. The illusion of comfort. My house is never going to burn down. My marriage is great. My job is secure. My kids are never going to smoke weed and not come home. And it's that middle period, Vishnu, right? The sustainer. Everything's going the same. And some of you are addicts to the same. And guess what? When things are the same, they can't die. And it's actually the death, the fire, that allows the birth. So just a side note, in the words of my teacher, enjoy this crucifixion. Because the crucifixion is what brings the resurrection. And so this sort of exposition on the game that we are in, that will always be the intro to every class, don't worry, I'll never say it the same, of every single class that I teach, is that we are here to burn. And it doesn't mean pitta, it doesn't mean pain, and it doesn't, although it can be. What it means is that we're here to melt everything that's hardened our hearts and melt everything that has solidified our thought forms that don't allow truth to come through. So today we're going to go into the art of self-trust and how we can be more aware of the ways that we might be knowingly or unknowingly outsourcing our wisdom, outsourcing our authority. It doesn't mean that you're an island and you don't take good advice. You're here. We're all in communities, right? Where we get inspired and hopefully learn from wise people or people that have good ideas. But self-trust is cultivated by tapping into our own inner authority. And that's right here. And in Shakti school, we do this a lot because it's always, the truth's always in something like this, right? And so it's like, oh, inner authority. Yeah, man, sovereignty, the buzzword of maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Spiritual sovereignty. Yes. And surrender to something bigger than your ego. And I hope we can dance the nuanced dance of what does it mean to have total self-trust and humility before the divine? What does it mean to have inner authority and sovereignty, and to also be open to receive the messages that are always being given to us from something way bigger than our individual sense of self? If not, we can run the risk of spiritual narcissism over here. Ew. And also just complete surrender where we feel like we've outsourced everything. We don't have any sense of that inner sovereignty and authority. And that in a community, I hope like this, I know for me, that side has been something I've had to really learn about in my spiritual life. And some of you are like, well, I'm more over there. And it's like dosha. It's like we have a tendency. So my question to you this morning is to contemplate, where in my life do I feel that I might be outsourcing my wisdom, outsourcing my inner sense of authority? And just a couple, things that we could think about, right? Like some of us outsource our wisdom to ChatGPT now. It's a really good tool, isn't it? Some of you know about ChatGPT or whatever bot you use. Some of us outsource it to Google or gurus. Some of us outsource it to a husband or a partner. Some of us outsource it to a priest, maybe an astrology person you follow, and then you check in. What's going on today? Oh no, why is it always bad? Here's the Katie Silcox every single astrological day and prediction every single day. Hello, everyone. Welcome to your astrology prediction for today. Today is going to be challenging you in this following way. You're going to have so many opportunities to learn and grow from this. And I love astrology. It's not to throw off on it, but one of my teachers used to say, astrology, have you met my God? She's way bigger than any of that planetary stuff. And by the way, these are people that were highly learned in Jyotish astrology. Learn it, just as we do in Shakti school. But am I outsourcing my authority to it? On that note, am I outsourcing my authority to Ayurveda? And on and on and on. There are a myriad of ways, big and small, that we outsource our authority. And so I just want to take a pause to take some real time to self-reflect. And the question is, where do I notice that I'm outsourcing my wisdom center and my sense of authority? I'm even noticing this in myself, and I've been doing Tantra for a really long time, but do you notice how there's like, oh, this is bad, I shouldn't be doing this? None of the things that you guys listed in the chat are bad. In fact, they could be wonderful. Tantra says everything can be a medicine and everything can be a poison. In the right amounts, something can be a medicine. In the wrong amounts, it can be a poison. At the right time, something can be a medicine. And at the wrong time, it can be a poison. Sometimes it's good to call mama or a friend or a therapist, hey, I need some support on this. Other times it's a way of outsourcing. The beauty of the middle path is that, and we have to always give the caveat, if you're with a snake, run. But in general, on the spiritual path, there is not really good and bad. It's the spiritual discernment to know when, what, and where, and how, and why in this moment now. And in the teachings, they call this, in fact, it's what Krishna said, the Lord Krishna said to Arjuna, that the whole purpose of human existence is this one thing, and it's spiritual discernment. That you're able to have a sharp enough sword to know, when is the astrology going to help and when is it actually taking me from my wisdom? When is a call with mom going to support you and when is it actually pulling me away? When is looking at the weather app going to help and when is it disconnecting me? And the same with Ayurveda. I love the feeling of surrendering into my princess cloud and letting someone else take charge. Anybody out there like to go limp in the arms of someone else? And it may be physically, or it may be spiritually, or it may be psychically, or it may be energetically. And there's a time and a place for that. And what Tantra says is, yeah, it's the bedroom, but mostly nowhere else. And by bedroom, they don't just mean sex. They mean there are moments in intimate, loving, trust-filled relationships where we go, yo, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, I can't. But the premise of Tantra is that the yogini is defined as she who is learning more and more to be the source of her own light. She who takes refuge in herself and therefore becomes a big fat refuge to everyone around her. That's the paradox. So my friends, keep researching. You like it, but know when it's gotten a little bit compulsive. Keep doing the astrology, keep doing the Ayurveda. These are all wonderful things. Most of you listed just beautiful things, right? So this is how we start outsourcing. I've been speaking, you've been seeing, thinking, and hopefully contemplating and awakening and melting, but we haven't even begun because we must actually start with defining what does self-trust even mean? And through my own contemplation on this as almost like a preacher woman, preparing her sermon for Sunday, it's just been percolating in me. And I remember one of my teachers used to say, be careful what you decide you're going to teach on a month from now, because you're going to get your butt kicked in that very thing, right? Until you teach it, right? And sometimes even in the moment you're teaching it. And so I was in this and having some things coming through in my own life that were really challenging my sense of self-trust and inner authority. And so I began to research, and read and ask ChatGPT and look at my old yoga books, right? And it's like, here's the conclusion that I've come to, take it or leave it, but I think it's a pretty good one. And that is, self-trust does not mean I know everything. And so it's like, wow, that's a big burden off my shoulders. And here's an even better definition, or what it's not. Self-trust doesn't mean I'm certain about this. I know in every bone of my body that this is the right move. It doesn't mean that I know, or that I have it all dialed in, or that I'm 100% sure. In fact, it can actually hold a lot of self-doubt. Self-trust and self-doubt can roll together. In fact, courage and fear, anybody out there that's a warrior woman, they ride or die together. Courage and fear are two wheels on the same chariot. So self-trust doesn't mean I know. It means the following. This is the part, don't go to sleep on it, okay? Highlight this, tattoo it on your mind. Self-trust does not mean I know everything, or that I am certain, or that I'm not scared, or that I have no fear or doubt. It means I am willing to stay connected to my innermost self and guiding light, no matter what is about to go down. That's what it means. No matter what, I am willing to not abandon my own heart. No matter what, I'm going to do my very best to keep myself out of the trance, meaning I'm here, I'm present, and I'm feeling this. I'm willing to be here with me no matter what. I've got my own back, as the Youngs say. I back myself. I rate myself. That's the new one. I rate that. I rate myself. I back myself. And if you like, you can also add in, I've got me and God's got me. And when you bring in that bigger power thing, now you're cooking with gas. And we're going to talk about the relationship between self-trust and divine intervention, between self-trust and having a connection to some kind of spiritual life. If you're new here, one of my favorite definitions of God is, OMG, I'm not alone. Wow, there's other things here, not just me. Did I make those things? No. Do I know how to make them? No. Usually no. You don't know how to make your kid. You did it though, with a lot of help. So the opposite of self-trust, we often in our current pop culture might think of it as insecurity. Like, oh, I have trust issues. I'm insecure. Absolutely not. Self-trust doesn't mean that you don't still have insecurities. It means that you're willing to stay with yourself when your insecurities arise, because they will. And this is what makes this nectar and medicine, because it is based in the truth of alchemy. Actually, my insecurity is my fuel for self-trust. My fear, my anxiety, that's my fuel for self-trust. And all of this is not just Katie Silcox's big opinion or Tantra, it's neuroscience. What we find with our nervous system is that the more you obsess with feeling calm and not anxious, the more anxious you become. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Every woman here. The more I want to be, even keeled and non-emotional and calm, actually it amps up neuroticism. And I'm super concerned, and I mean this as like a, perimenopausal elder in the making. This tsunami of obsession with the nervous system on TikTok and Instagram. On one hand, it's like so cool because us oldies were talking about this 20 years ago. So it's so wonderful that the new group of young women and not young women are becoming very nervous system informed. But my concern is that we're obsessing over techniques that make us feel calm, when the whole game of self-trust as embodied through the physiology is that you're able, and one of my favorite definitions of enlightenment, to withstand ever greater waves of intensity, fear, pleasure, anger, joy, sadness, euphoria. All of that is not calm. And ironically, the more you're ready for the wave to come, the calmer you are. Like, you are more calm. It's the same with self-trust. It's not about insecurity. It's about doing our best to avoid self-abandonment. And self-abandonment is also spiritual abandonment. And so now we're going to pause again. And I want to just take a moment, and I'll give you a couple of examples that a friend of mine wrote in about. Just kidding. I've experienced all of them. The big question in contemplation: how do you self-abandon? So I'm going to give you one of my favorite ways I like to self-abandon, and that is I have good boundaries. And then I'm like, no, I don't need those. So what are boundaries? Again, another big buzzword, right? Boundaries have nothing to do with other people's choices, behaviors, words, and actions. Boundaries are how you are going to speak, behave, endure, stay, or not stay. Boundaries are about you. So we all create boundaries in our life. And when we go against our boundaries, that is one way that we self-abandon. And we do it. So this is not a class in making you bad. Your teacher will never do that to you, because as many of you know at this point, she's a half-baked bun in the enlightenment oven herself. Oh, here's another one that my friend wrote in. How about this one? Will you please tell me that I'm pretty or good or smart or successful? Validation, reassurance. And like, there's nothing wrong with needing reassurance, right? And we need it. We do. And in human relationships, we do seek that validation and reassurance. It can be healthy, but it can also be a part of self-abandonment, and we can feel the difference. And by the way, I'd like to add the word compulsively. We compulsively seek reassurance and validation. That's different than, a healthy relational validation. Another big way, we outsource our decision maker. I don't want to deal with this. You do it. My best friend and I, when we were in our early 20s, and we were very, very ignorant and full of hubris and estrogen, we made little t-shirts, and we considered ourselves something like a unicorn tribe, right? We are going to study Sri Vidya Tantra, but we don't want to change our oil. And so we made these little t-shirts. Unicorns don't change oil. Unicorns don't do their taxes. Right? Unicorns don't mow the grass. Like, outsource. By the way, both of us pay our taxes, change our oil, and do all the things now. Another way we self-abandon, this one's tough. We abuse our body. We majorly abuse it, or we micro abuse it, but we go against the free flow of prana paradha, like this sinning against prana. We abuse it, or we just ignore it. You may know some folks like this where they don't even know they have a body until something really breaks. And then another one I wanted to mention, just to get you inspired to kind of think about your personal way that we abandon ourselves, is that we wait to make a decision until everything's perfect or we're completely certain. And that is the paralysis of analysis. We get stuck because we're waiting for it to be perfect. So those are just a few of mine, I'll be honest, that I wrote down for you all, that I have to really constantly stay vigilant to. So the question, how do we self-abandon? I really do want you to get super specific. Like, what does it look like for you? A big special thanks to Kevin Carlisle of Goodbye Gemini, who wrote this beautiful podcast music, and to DJ Juan Pablo Jimenez in southern Spain for mixing it and making it magic.